What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and I hear you guys loud and clearly. I've had a lot of requests for some more budget-oriented builds because my last two build videos have been top-tier endgame setup. So I had a 35,000k Meteor Fire Sorceress and a 12k Armageddon 8k Fury Shapeshifting Druid. So very top-tier late endgame builds. But today's video, I'm going to be breaking down what I think is the best and most beginner-friendly budget build, and that is the Wind Druid. So I'm going to start off first by quickly covering how you can actually get to hell difficulty with the Wind Druid, or excuse me, with the Druid in general, because you actually start as fire. So I'm going to cover that, then I'll go over the attributes, the skill tree, and wrap everything up with some gear and gameplay. And like all my previous build videos, I will have timestamps in the description below, so if you want to navigate between specific segments of the video, they're for you guys to use, so please take advantage of them. But a quick reminder before we dive into today's video, just want to let you guys know if you do enjoy my YouTube content, I do stream twice a week on Twitch, and I do have the link for my Twitch channel, of course, in the description below. So any follows over there would be very much appreciated. With that being said, let's just jump into it. So the first thing that I want to cover is what makes the Wind Druid such a viable budget character. There's a lot of reasons for that, but the main three ones being, the first is you have two forms of damage, cold and physical. So the cold damage comes from your hurricane and the physical damage comes from your tornado. So that basically means that you're very seldom going to run into any kind of double immune monster that you can't handle. If you run into a cold immune monster, you can use tornadoes. If you run into a physical immune monster, you can use hurricane. And then if you run into a physical cold immune, I would suggest just running by and skipping it. The second reason that makes the Wind Druid such a great character is that you have very powerful summons that you can take advantage of. So this includes your Oak Sage for a massive boost in plus life, and also your Summon Grizzly, just a fantastic meat shield. And the third reason why the Wind Druid is a great budget character is that with very low tier gear, you can achieve some very respectable damage. So almost 3k Tornado and about 1,000 Hurricane with some very budget gear in this setup. Again, nothing like, there's some rune words, but nothing even close to using like a pull rune. Everything else is below that, so very easy to achieve gear for some very solid damage. So as far as the cons go for the Wind Druid, there's really only two standout ones in my eyes, and the first one is aiming tornadoes. This can be very difficult to do with a budget Wind Druid because the tornado path is very kind of curvy. So the typical way of trying to get around that with an endgame setup is to telestomp, but that unfortunately requires the Rumored Enigma, which obviously is not being used in this build because this is a budget Wind Druid. So the first one is, yeah, just aiming your tornadoes is a little bit difficult. And the second sort of disadvantage is that with moderate budget gear, while you do have two forms of damage, you're not really kind of doing insane damage. So it doesn't really quite match sort of like a budget Blessed Hammerden setup. Like those magic hammers are going to be a lot more damage. Same with a budget Blizzard Sorceress and using the skill Cold Mastery. Your damage on those two other great budget characters is going to be a lot greater than what you can achieve sort of with the Wind Druid. You really need to stack a ton of plus skills to get sort of endgame top tier damage, but that's not what this build is about because it is a complete budget Wind Druid setup. So as far as the attribute and skill point investment goes, it's very straightforward. I went a max vitality setup with this Wind Druid, and then I completely maxed out Tornado and all of its synergies, and put 1 hard point into all of the summoning skills except for Oak Sage, and then continue to invest into Oak Sage up until level 85. This character actually is 95, but in order to simulate a level 85 setup, I purposely have withheld 10 skill points and also 50 attribute points. So again, if you guys want more clarification, you guys can pause the video to mimic the skill tree exactly. So the last thing that I want to quickly go over before I jump into the gear is a roadmap on how to reach hell difficulty on a Druid. It's very straightforward. I recommend that you start off as a Fissure Fire Druid. This skill alone will carry you all the way through normal and up into Act 4 Nightmare difficulty. Once you reach the Chaos Sanctuary, I recommend respecing to a Wind Druid and then following a similar skill spec that I just showed on this video. But a very powerful rumor that you can make in normal difficulty is the Rumored Leaf. This will grant you +3 to your fire skills and will provide a significant damage to Fissure, which again will allow you to very easily make your way through normal and Nightmare difficulty up into Act 4. Alright guys, so the last thing to go over is the gear before we jump into some gameplay. Now this is a very, in my opinion, budget character at this point in the ladder. The highest rune that I used is 1 rune, and I was almost going to not use it, but I didn't want to use a Hell rune and take the rune out of the helmet that I had, so just gonna go with the rune being okay for a budget setup. So for the weapons, I'm using Spirit and a Crystal Swords. This is the 28 FCR Spirit. For the body armor, Stealth. So Talthal, Orden Am, and Talon F. Very, very budget. Now for the shield, I went the route of using Rhyme because while a 4 open socket Monarch and then rolling Rumored Spirit, that's not like very difficult to get. Some people or beginners might be struggling to find that first white Monarch, so I just went with Rumored Rhyme in a plain 2 open socket shield. So this is a tower shield base. It gives my Druid mana regeneration, it cannot be frozen, and all res. Now, cannot be frozen is nice if you're running around as a Druid. That's why I also think Rhyme is a good fit. You don't need FCR, or excuse me, you don't need cannot be frozen for cast rate. So if you're teleporting around and you're frozen, it's not going to slow you down. But since we're running budget character, I thought Rhyme was a good fit. And the helmet is an Umrune with you're socketed into Jalal's. So this is a great overall helmet with a bunch of all res, strength, energy, and mana after kill. I could have gone even more budget, but this is a very common to find, easy to obtain pelt. I'm sure if you asked for it for free on Ballant, you could get it. And for the jewelry, I have a 10 FCR amulet, 10 FCR ring, and another 10 FCR ring. So just really low-level caster stuff that I just found in my inventory that I slapped together quickly. The boots are 30 fast roam walk, 10 cold res boots. This is a rare belt that I gambled from Geeds, and then I'm using Trang's gloves. So you could argue maybe that Trang's borders on not being budget, but this is a very easy to achieve character setup in my opinion. And then on the offhand, I have the Rumored Harmony. So this is just for the Vigor Ore, so faster run walk on the offhand. So very, very budget setup. And then for the Mercenary, ignore the socket in the helmet. I'm using a Talis Mask with an Istrune. These are my single player files, and I cannot find a plain Talis Mask. So all this Istrune does is give my Mercenary extra MF. It doesn't really break the build, so just pretend that that was a plain Telrash's Mask. And then I have the Rumored Treachery, so Shale, Thal, and Lem. Again, a relatively easy to achieve rune word that has increased attack speed and the chance to proc Fade, which will definitely increase your Mercenary survivability. And then I pair that with a plain Insight in a Poleaxe. So non-Nath Poleaxe, 74 to 141 damage. Not really going to be helping me out a ton, but it does provide a meditation aura, which helps me with mana recovery. So a very budget setup again, which I think tailors well to the whole theme of this build. Not using very expensive gear, but still making a very viable setup. So let's finally jump into some gameplay and show you what a very budget Wind Druid can do. Again, I still think this is a very viable character. I'm going to farm a run through the Ancient Tunnels, so this is a great place to farm as a budget Wind Druid in my opinion. Now there's no CTA. The great thing about this build is I have a ton of life from casting Oak Sage. So I have almost 2,000 life just from some points in Oak Sage. And then I have Harmony on the offhand so I can run around and get to new places a lot quicker. It doesn't take us forever to get to Lost City. You really just make sure that you have your Hurricane active and that you sling your tornadoes. We'll check that ring. And the other great thing as well is you can constantly recast your Cyclone armor. So any elemental damage that I'm taking in here, like right there, that's a great FCR ring that I could equip right now. Mana, poison res, fire res. Look at that. We made our Wind Druid even stronger. But if you keep recasting Cyclone, you're basically immune to any of the lightning damage from those horror mages. Now, Cyclone armor doesn't apply to poison. As long as I'm continuing to recast that skill, I can farm this area almost like limitlessly, if I don't know if that's the right word. It's probably not. You don't need to worry about taking elemental damage because you can just keep recasting it and getting your absorb back. Again, the really cool thing about this build is just using Harmony on the offhand. I'll speak it around a little bit quicker too. But this is only players 1, and again, going through the Chaos Sanctuary would be very slow with this setup, so you can't really farm Bale Waves. Okay, this is going to make for an interesting build video. I just dropped one of the rarest pair of boots with Shadow Dancers with a very budget character. 1 to Shadow Discipline skills. That is hilarious. Anyways, carrying on with the video. That's another tip from this video, is that RNG can be crazy. But you can see how these Cyclone armors, the things are moving around. Eventually it'll go to 2 strands, and then 1 strand. And then at that point, all of the elemental damage that it can absorb is gone. You just have to recast it again. Again, this ain't no Bale running, Chaos running character, but for some pretty decent gear, we can get around and clear the ancient tunnels. You can even drop Shadow Dancers, which is hilarious, because I think I've only dropped maybe 2 of those my entire life, and I dropped one during a build video with a 0 MF Wind Druid. So it's definitely slower clear speed compared to like a Blizzard Sorceress, for example. But it does have some really good additional benefits, like having 2k life and all the other stuff. But that basically wraps up everything I want to cover for today's video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, if you want to see more budget videos in the future, just let me know in the comment section below. I do always read the comments, so any suggested build video ideas, if I think they're great, I will definitely make them. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you could throw a like on it, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my YouTube channel. Excuse me. I post new weekly content on YouTube, and I do stream twice a week on Twitch. So any follows on Twitch or subs on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.